Hello. Thank you for coming today. It's great to see you all here. This is Alert California. My name is Aaron Wixon. I was a game designer. I just graduated from UC San Diego this year. I majored in cognitive science with a specialization in design and interaction, and I minored in computer science. My favorite media is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My name is Jai Lingenfelter. I am a sound designer in Alert, California, and I go to school at SCAD, which is Savannah College of Art and Design. So I'm majoring in sound design and I'm minoring in animation. And my favorite media is the Mario and Sonic franchise.
My name is Sanjay Shrikant. I'm a programmer for Alert California. I go to UC Santa Barbara, and I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in spatial studies, that is GIS. I'm a rising junior, graduating in 2026. My favorite media is Minecraft.
Hello, lovely crowd. My name is Angelina Xu. I am the project manager for Alert California's dev team. I am attending Maryland Institute College of Art. My graduation date is somewhere 2026. I'm studying game design, and my favorite media is most of the Witcher books and games. I have all of them.
Hello, my name is Lillian. I am one of the programmers for the Alert California team. I go to school here at UC San Diego studying computer engineering, and one of my favorite media is the video game called Ultrakill.
Hi, I'm Merlin, and I'm the artist for the Alert California team. I go to UC San Diego, and my favorite media is Honkai Star Rail. And as you can see in my picture, I'm holding a little plushie of my favorite character, Dr. Ratio. He was an actual plushie. He provided a great deal of emotional support throughout our game development process.
First, I'm going to talk a little about our client. Dominique is an archaeologist and serves as the tribal liaison for Alert California. He has worked with UCSD students in the lab and in the field since 2015. And he's actively involved in the development of digital workflows for the visualization and analysis of multimodal data from cultural heritage sites. It's very cool. He was very kind to share with us some of the labs and workspaces that he works in. So a little about Alert California. Alert California is a public safety program at UC San Diego, working to understand wildfires and other natural hazards. They do this using over 1,000 monitoring cameras and very cool AI technology. This is a screen grab from cameras.alertcalifornia.org. All of those blue arrows are cameras that we can click on and see what landscape that they're monitoring. It's very cool. So a little background about fire knowledge. As many of us know, especially if you've lived in California, wildfires are a huge problem. They're destructive and dangerous, but something that is not so well known is that some fires are actually good. Good fires are actually one of the most important tools to wildfire management. Here's a visualization that shows how areas in which fire has been suppressed for decades are much less resilient to fire. So for thousands of years, Native peoples thrived on this land and used regular cultural burning to shape the landscape. Their good fires played a significant role in maintaining forest structure and biodiversity. However, the European settlers didn't really understand the use of fire in land management, and the state of California outlawed all intentional burning in 1850. Now, getting into the game. So for our game, our objective was to inform players about the Alert California program and the concept of healthy fire stewardship. Our concept is that you, the player, are a member of Alert California, and you travel all around the state, helping the local creatures with fire management in order to secure this year's S'mores Festival. which has been canceled for the past several years because of the fire hazard. You help by helping them with two different puzzles. There are fire lighting puzzles and there are firefighting puzzles. Here is an example of a dialogue table that I created. A lot of work went into the dialogue planning because all of the education is delivered through the dialogue. So depending on what condition of the story you're in, it will determine what dialogue is actually presented to the player. So one of these was created for all of the characters. Here's some of the user interfaces that I created in Figma. This was super fun. I love using Figma. And then here's a relationship diagram that shows what our characters actually look like and their ingredients that they provide the player once you complete their puzzles.
All right, so as a programmer, I work mainly on the non-puzzle scenes, which are the ones, as in the GIF, which are isometric view ones, aka the ones that aren't directly top-down, as well as the menu systems. To get a lot of these levels up and running, we needed to work on a lot of the backend systems. So a lot of my early days was spent making things like a save system, audio settings for the player, and then integrating the dialogue modules, because dialogue is a very important part of a game, which is how we distribute our educational goals. Additionally, beyond just backend systems in the game, with 6 people on our team, there was a lot of moving parts, and to help prevent any conflicts or overlaps, we use Git, and so I managed GitHub branches and reviewed a pull request to make sure that there weren't any merge conflicts. Back to the levels, I worked on things like the sprite colliders to make sure you can walk through walls, the dialogue triggers so that the characters would react to the player, and character movement and animations, which I got help from Merlin, who made the animations in the first place. So here is the main gameplay loop of our game. You start out by talking to Jax, which gives you instructions and the tools needed to protect the land around us. And then you move out from the Alert California headquarters in the General Sherman Tree, and then take a drone to your next location, where you will find another character who has a puzzle for you to solve. If you look closely, you can see that some of the locations are like Hammond Ranch and Mount Laguna, which are actual places covered by Alert California, which is really neat. Once you're there, you solve the puzzles. The puzzles are the cloud bubbles, which are done by Sanjay, so I'll let him cover those. And once you finish all the puzzles, you get all the s'mores ingredients and can move on to the s'mores festival. And here's how that gameplay loop would fit into the whole game. From the start, where you select what kind of game you want, and all the way to the end, where the end credits in the s'mores festival.
As a sound designer, I start to think of the ideas of what sounds that can be used for the footsteps, the sound, the wind, the sound of the wind, the fire, and the UA sounds. The UA sounds is the ones that I was focused on for when you're on when you pause the game and you start to click on the options. And I used the website called Pixivate, which is a website that you find music and sound effects and use for free. And for the wind sounds, I used Pro Tools, which is a software for sound, and just layer the wind sounds for all of them. And whenever the music is too loud, I just start normalizing it on Adobe Audition or Audacity, just to get to the right volume of the sound. That way, it's not too loud or not too soft.
My programming contributions included implementing several game mechanics, including the tiles, the player characters, the physics for the player characters, including the colliders and movement, the screens, including the pause screen, winning screen, and losing screen. I implemented game states, which track whether the game is active, paused, or completed. And I added exit buttons that allow the player to return to the overworld upon finishing a puzzle. This is puzzle type 1. The player starts at the start at the starting tile, which is represented by a little house, as you can see. And to finish the game, you have to go from the start to the finish tile while traversing each dirt tile exactly once. And as the player moves along the dirt is replaced with fire. So the player is essentially lighting fires throughout the dirt. And the green tiles are the solids, and the player cannot cross them. So this is how puzzle type 1 looks like when in progress. So as you can see, the player's lighting fires, and the tiles that have been lit turn red. In addition, there's a timer at the top right, which shows how much time you have left. And in this case, the player is not going to finish because there are 2 tiles that have not been covered and cannot be covered because that would require the player stepping into fire. This is puzzle type 2. In this puzzle, there's a single fire tile which starts at the top right corner of the screen and propagates throughout. Basically, it spreads as the game progresses. And to finish it, you have to dig trenches that block the fire from reaching the start protect tile. So this is how the game looks like while being played. Those dark brown lines you can see are trenches. So the fire is not going to spread beyond those trenches. So the start and protect tiles in blue are protected. If the fire touches a start protect tile, the player loses. Now over to Angelina.
So my main contribution to this project was adding tasks to this neat little application called Jira Board. It's what was I supposed to say? And I was in charge of coordinating between our team and our stakeholder, arranging meetings, sending emails, and I'm the person that goes around the table, watches over everyone's shoulder, and makes sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this is a reel of the art made by our lovely artist, Merton.
So here's the start screen that I illustrated and the ending screen. And here is a mock-up I made early on in the game of the first level, the General Sherman tree. Towards the beginning, I did spend some time on the planning for the scenes, but eventually that task is now Aaron's because I ended up spending much more of my time working on specifically the assets, such as the tree itself. And here's some of Aaron's designs.
I drew these mock-ups so that Merlin would know, I guess, what our assets to create. And then once they were created, we could use Unity to actually put the tiles in place and put the different objects where they need to go.
So here's some of the early concept art that I created towards the beginning. And I went with a more cartoony style for the backgrounds, hoping to save time. But unfortunately, or fortunately, I really like to paint backgrounds, so I ended up going with something more realistic for the final game. So in the end, the characters ended up getting simpler and the backgrounds more complex in the final game. Here's some example of an asset that I had created in the more complicated looking style. I drew inspiration from anime backgrounds, like in anime movies, and especially from Ghibli movies, where it's like more realistic, looks like it's painted on. Some more examples of the assets I made. This one's for Rocky Hill, I believe, based on the actual location in Alert California's, from Alert California's camera view. And some textures for the ground that I had created. And here's a lovely little walking animation that I made, yes, in Flip-a-Clip. And it actually took a lot of trial and error, both to create the animation itself and to implement it into the game, which I helped Lillian with.
Here's some of our research links that we use to gather all the information to create our game. The last two are actually articles from the University of California, so I thought that was pretty cool. Here's our credits, with a special thanks to Dominique for his guidance and feedback throughout the development process and showing us his cool gadgets. So a recap, to summarize it all, Alert California is an educational game in which you save this year's S'mores Festival by completing firelighting and firefighting puzzles across California. Through this process, the player learns about native fire stewardship, the Alert California program, and other random facts sprinkled throughout the dialogue. We're very excited for you to play the game yourselves. Are there any questions? Thank you. Questions?
Are the camera views available to the public?
Yes, it's on cameras.alertcalifornia.org. You can go and click on any of those blue arrows and it will show you exactly what they're looking at. It's very cool. Anyone else?
I was wondering whether any of the sprites or the puzzles kind of depend on the location that was selected. Like, does the ranch kind of have, more of a ranchy theme to it, I guess? Or is that just unrelated? Is that the same across the board? I mean, that could be like a form of education, I guess, having specific flora or fauna that relates to the location. So I was just wondering if that was something that was considered.
For the overworlds themselves, like where you're actually walking around and talking to the characters, they are based off of the actual locations. From what we saw on Alert California, the cameras, we just chose random locations to use for the game, and then we drew up little mock-ups based on what we saw on the cameras. But the puzzles themselves, they are all the same tiles. The only difference is that they are a little more difficult in some puzzles and easier in other puzzles.
Just a quick comment, rather than a question. Congratulations, team, and to all the teams. But I want to, this was a learning experience for me as a client. And I want to say that many of the problems that we face, California and beyond, is, suffers from a lack of good ideas. And what I find most exciting about working with these teams is that programs like this activate and empower diverse ways of solving problems, of approaching challenges. And it's those ideas that really are most transformative. The technology is just a vehicle. It's really the people and the ideas and the intellectual tools and perspectives and approaches that really make all of these things come to life. So really a privilege and congratulations.
Congratulations again. Wonderful presentation. So kind of a similar question as the last time. What was your learnings throughout all this process? A more process question.
Does anybody else want to talk? I can. Okay. Do you want to talk?
I think our team learned many professional and valuable skills that I can't think of anything. I'm sorry.
Did I talk?
Yeah, if you want to talk, go ahead.
Do you have any more questions?
Oh, we were still answering.
No, we weren't answering.
About what you learned? About like what you learned?
Oh.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry.
So we learned that communication was something that the last team had worked on. Was there something that was challenging with the project that somehow you overcame?
That's true.
Yeah, I learned the software, particularly C#. I have experience with several programming languages, including C++, Java, JavaScript, and Python, but I have never programmed in C#. However, its similarities to C++ and Java helped me easily understand the language and program my game.
And just quickly to go off of that, I think both of our programmers, none of us knew Unity before this, so this was our first attempt at playing around with Unity, but I feel like we're pretty happy with how much we learned and what we came up with.
Oh, I got something too. So I am the artist, technically, but I ended up learning Unity as well. And what I found out is actually really helps to know the game software to do the art, because then you can create the art to be more compatible to incorporate it into the game, such as animations. You can't really put a GIF animation in Unity. It's much easier to put it frame by frame into Unity, which I ended up doing in the end.
Y'all did a great job. The art looks great. Can't wait to play the game. 2 questions. One, did you guys and gals, did y'all take on this game from somebody else, or was this like from soup to nuts so far?
So the fire lighting puzzles where you're digging trenches, that was an original concept that we all came up with. The fire lighting puzzles where you're traversing the maze and lighting puzzles, lighting fires in your path, that was based off of another game that we had found doing research. But the other puzzle was original.
Awesome. So the other question is, so some of the visual art was inspired by anime. What was the audio art inspired by?
Okay, gotcha. So the audio, I just like I said, I just used Pixabay for the sounds, and what I did was I just got the sounds and downloaded the sounds and just edit them out and adjust the tones, the lengths, and the pitches, and just throw them into the software of Audacity or Adobe Audition, and after that, and I just exported them and just throw them into Google Drive.
I do believe one of the background songs and one of the overworlds is a RuneScape song by my request. Yeah.